Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another video from Fanboys Forever. Today I'm coming back with a very special review. This is of the Mattel Creations exclusive Masters of the Universe Revelation Dark Evil-Lyn. What's interesting about this is that, of course, spoiler alert for a show that's been out for a long time, represents Evil-Lyn as she acquires the power of the universe. Of course, tricking Skeletor and acquiring it for herself. Regardless of what you think about the series, of course it was highly controversial. I love Revelation, but you know, it is what it is. I remember upon first watching the series that I thought that there was a good chance that they would do this in some form, but honestly, I really didn't think that they would actually go through with it because it just seems like such a crazy idea, and I kept asking myself, well, what would that even look like? Well, I definitely got my answer by the end of the series, and it was actually a lot cooler than I thought it would be. So today, let's go ahead and just enjoy this review. Whether you love Revelation or whether you hate Revelation, let's just go ahead and judge this figure based on a lot of its own merits. So let's begin by first having a look at the packaging. You can see that there is some really nice artwork of Dark Evil-Lyn. This is a super cool painting right here. And on the side, it just kind of continues. And on the back, we have something more akin to like a still from the show. It's kind of just its own artwork, but I really do think that this is lovely. On the bottom, you have a UPC code that won't help anybody because this isn't out in stores. It's only on Mattel Creations. And we have Masterverse at the top. This is the first instance, at least as far as I know, of windowless packaging at Mattel, something that concerns me a little. And, you know, I love the environment too, but at the same time, I am a little worried about windowless packaging. But certainly a direct product like this, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because it's not like you can pick the best version. Here we do have a little bio. When you open it up, you get another piece of artwork, and it's just like a little insert. As you can see, the rest of the box is just cardboard. You take the insert out, it's really a nice presentation thanks to that. And we have our Evil-Lyn figure. You can see that if you open up the insert, you can actually see that it makes a big picture of Dark-Lyn. But the cool part is if you turn it around, you can actually get a Castle Grayskull diorama display. So I really do like that a lot. I think that's terrific. And there she is, the evilest Lyn that I know, Dark-Lyn. So this figure has had a couple of funny monikers floating around. People know it by all sorts of different things. But this really has a tremendous amount of presence. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the design first. First, it's worth noting that I have her rigged up on a Mezco flight stand. But just be aware that she does not come with a flight stand. I think Mattel missed a trick right there. What's interesting is I didn't know what they would do in terms of Evil-Lyn getting the power. And like I said, it's something that I thought that they would probably try, but the design was actually fairly surprising because there was kind of an Egyptian influence to her design. She almost seems like an Egyptian deity. I actually think that was a really cool move. It gave her a lot of unique personality. The design definitely took on an identity of its own. I also like that even though it keeps the purple, and that's pretty much it in terms of Evil-Lyn's traditional digs, her traditional costume. And I do like their ability to innovate on that old design and to create something new. I think that fans over the years have increasingly liked the idea of Evil-Lyn showing her white hair, and it's something that I think really works well for this figure. It also gives you some vibes from, like, say, Brigitte Nielsen or other kind of, you know, large, imposing, like, you know, fit women of the 80s or something like that. Kind of a female bodybuilder kind of deal. And of course, all of that is completely appropriate because the power, no matter who you were, man or woman, would turn you into, like, you know, muscled up, greatest physical specimen of yourself. So Evil-Lyn, who's already this powerful, you know, mage, to have her acquire this power, then it's like she becomes this ultra, like, you know, warriored out version of a magic user. And I think it works. The other cool thing about the design is the really neat cape back here, which it's funny because of my background, it almost blends in with it a little bit, but you know, it's like you can almost say it's camouflage at this point. Is that the invisibility cloak? It has a wire in it. There's integrated wire right there on the edges of the cape, so you can have her do all kinds of cool Batman stuff if you want. It's appropriate because, you know, Evil-Lyn did dress up as a bat when she was the sorceress of Grayskull in Revelation, so there you go. It's double layered, so on the back you have this blue area, and on the front you have the star field, and they're just sewn together here at the bottom. But it's not too thick. It doesn't like seem like this giant quilt she's got, which is sometimes something that happens when you have double layered fabrics. You can get it to do things like that, sort of atypical. The shoulder pads are really nice too. And I also like that, just like Skeletor and He-Man himself, she gets a giant H logo on her chest. I do think that this is sort of a funny design idea, because you would almost think that only He-Man would get an H on his chest for He-Man, but then again, maybe the symbol isn't really supposed to be an English H, and instead it's some kind of symbol for the power itself. We just perceive it as an H, so I don't know. But it is funny how Skeletor and Evil-Lyn both got it, because we're perceiving that as a giant H, like Superman's S shield. But I do think it's essential in identifying, you know, who has the power. And I love this collar piece right here. Now, some people get this and it's actually unplugged from the neck, and you totally can unplug this. It just comes out of these two holes, and there she is without it, which I think looks pretty good too, except for the giant gaping holes in her collarbone. So I do think it's nice if not for those, but why would you want to do away with the collar? To me, it's simply too essential a design to do away with, so I just keep it on there. I also like Evil-Lyn's like weird crown thing that she has going on, like the power has crowned her. Kind of this tiara really, as her hair is floating up and she's doing, you know, Super Saiyan, she's doing Ultra Instinct, whatever you want to call it. There's also really nice wash work going on in the hair, so it's not just one, you know, basic color. It is really nice looking. The only thing is on this one, it looks like they missed a little bit of the side of the jewel there on the head, and a little bit of that's gray, so I may have to go in and touch that up myself, but that's not something that I would consider a big deal. The face paint on this one is really good. They've done a great job getting the paint mask on there just right, the digital mask, whatever technology that they're using. I had the inclination to just go ahead and order two. Very frustrating to open that first one and see that it had the giant red on the nose, and attempt to fix it just made it worse. Shouldn't be having that, and definitely for a product that you're ordering. So it's a good thing that I had the inclination to just go ahead and order two. The shoulder pads are a really cool design. They go with the rest of the outfit. You have the bracelets right there on the wrists, and you kind of have like a sports bra kind of deal, and then the six-pack abs, and dare I say, Evil-Lyn, better abs than He-Man. So sorry, He-Man, you gotta hit that gym. Right here we have the cool like gold belt, and it has like this jewel. And here's a detail that gets lost as you pose this, because as you can see, the fabric wants to do like this, but the truth is that there is a gold line that they've kind of printed along the fabric, and it even follows all the way around. And I hate that that gets lost as you pose it, because like I said, it wants to flare back. It's almost like it was never there, but it is there on both sides, and I'm always kind of fighting with that. It almost seems like something that I could maybe put some hot water on and hold in a certain position and get it to where it was a little more apparent, but it kind of wants to hide itself. Here, the loincloth section, flexible rubbery plastic right here, and it just has, you know, the same gold trim, and it does a really good job of not sticking out compared to the soft goods. So it really does kind of seem like in line with that design theory. And at the bottom with her feet, she has ankle bracelets, and maybe she has to report, you know, for an arraignment or a hearing in a few days. They gave her two. And then there is a kind of little gem down on her foot, and nice foot sculpting down here. They've done a good job of getting the toenails and everything. I do find it funny that Evil-Lyn has not painted up her toenails for this transformation. You know, she didn't go and get the pedicure. She didn't pay extra at the attorney and salon for that. And then even the bottoms of the feet have some indication of some sculpting, like, you know, the actual anatomy of the foot. These could have just been flat. They didn't have to do any of this, but I do think it's cool that they at least got that anatomical detail correct. And of course, there's also some pegs right there if you want to use them for stands. Evil-Lyn is wearing some shorts, and that's pretty much it. The rest of this is soft goods. I don't think this is very removable, and I certainly wouldn't try it. And from the back, she looks cool as well. I do think the cape could have done with that same gold striping on the sides. I think that would have looked nice. It's certainly not essential. And the way mine was packaged, it kind of has a little wrinkle right there. So that's something I can probably just get out with a little bit of hot water or steam, but it's still a little aggravating. In terms of draping the cape around Lyn, you can do it pretty much to just about this extent. If you bring the arms in even more, you can probably go even crazier with it like this. So if you want Evil-Lyn to be, I don't know, brooding a little bit, I think that that's an okay way to do it. I think it looks pretty legitimate. You can also do kind of some little tricks, and you guys know how much in the action figure photography community that we love doing things like this, to where you can get the wind sweeping the cape and Evil-Lyn, you know, kind of in a dramatic pose, like Halt, who goes there kind of thing. And you can get a shot that's something like that. Of course, the more you work with this, the more you work with this wire, which seems very durable. I'm not worried about breaking this or anything. I think you can get even crazier stuff. On the back, you can actually see that the cape is held on by Velcro. It's simply this Velcro strap, and it goes through a holder right there on the back. So it has two Velcro tabs. If you want to take those out, you totally can. This would be Evil-Lyn without the cape. I don't feel like taking it out, so I'm just going to thread these back through, because I do feel like these might be a little challenging to thread back through the right way, so I'm not going to do that. However, it's no problem at all to reconnect those, so don't be afraid of it. Speaking of the functionality of the figure, we definitely should look at the articulation points. Now, that's something I'm going to compliment Masterverse on just as a line. The articulation is just awesome, and they're doing a great job of making sure that everybody has consistent articulation, and there's really hardly any compromises ever made, so good on them for sure. The head has plenty of range. You might have heard it pop a second ago. Probably some of the sonic welding popped a little bit on the sides of the neck. It's something that happens. I think we're used to it, but I wish that they would make those a little stronger. And you can get the head to bury pretty deep down, and you can get it to go pretty far up, but you can't get like a straight on, you know, pose like that if she's flying. The head does come out pretty easy. And of course, we'll be showing you some switcheroos here in a little while about different head options you can do. The shoulders are interesting. They don't go in as far as I would want them to. This is about as far as I can get them to go. Maybe if I heated her up a little bit, I think that that would probably make it rest a little bit further in there. But the joints must not be deep enough. Those hinges probably stop a little early right there. There's, of course, a swivel here at the bicep. The arms, they're inhibited a little by these shoulder pads. Now, you can kind of play with this. This shoulder pad rig is actually back here, and you can actually see, if I can get my Velcro back in the right spot, that it's on like a plastic piece, and that means that you can do this side-to-side movement. So if you want one arm slightly higher than the other, you have a little bit of leeway. Now, the shoulder pads are actually also connected as separate pieces, so you can even swivel them a little bit to adjust for arm posing. So it does give you a lot of options, and as you can see, I can swivel it pretty much out of the way, and I can have her hand pretty much go all the way up. She's looking like a Gogeta here. So I do think that's great. I don't, you know, you can definitely get both arms up if you want to. You can swivel these backwards, and you can get like this kind of motion, and you can kind of swivel this all the way around if you wish. And I think that's terrific. I really didn't expect to be able to do that. I was kind of just figuring my way through it right here on camera, and it worked like a charm. So that is really good engineering, and that's one of the best solutions I've ever seen to like a shoulder pad problem like that. On the arms, you can see that we do have double jointed elbows, which are no problem at all. You can get even, and this is always my test to see if double jointed elbows, yes, you can get a face palm like this, And you can even do a double face palm. That's right. Skeletor making cheap advances at Evil-Lyn. It's like, oh, just leave me alone. I'm tired. Oh, not again. And right here at the wrist, and there are hinges. So it's like, oh, He-Man again. Oh. So you can get some really dramatic posing. You can also get this great bicep. Yeah, you can do all sorts of great things with this, and I wish more of the Masterverse figures had this much range, because you can do just about anything you wish, and it looks so natural because of like the sports bra configuration thing going on there. So it gives a natural cut to where you don't even see where the articulation joint is. Also, there is a swivel right there at the waist, which looks good enough, I think. I think it would have been better if the swivel was somehow buried under this a little bit more, but I think the design makes it to where you sort of can't do that. They also tried to cut it, I think, at the most natural spot they could, right under the biceps, so it doesn't really look as bad. Right here at the legs, we do have a swivel. We do have a double jointed knee, which works really well. We do have a rocker ankle pivot and a really good hinge, at least going down. I think going up, there's not a lot you can do. And of course, you can do the splits. So, you know, Evil-Lyn, not only is she buff, she didn't skip leg day. But the only thing that I've seen that's sort of limited is sort of the ratcheting up. And I guess it's not necessarily a ratchet, it's more like a lock as you swivel it. So you can take it that far back and that's it. And that's because, you know, kind of the shorts piece back here kind of blocks it from going back any further. And so that's a little disappointing, but I also know that they wanted this to be more proportional and not have like a gaping kind of well back there for the joint. Moving upwards, you can't necessarily get, you know, like a straight up kick like you might want maybe, but I really do think this is pretty good for such a bulky figure. It's pretty much 90 degrees, pretty much, maybe a little less than that, but I think that that works plenty well enough. Now, what you're going to want to avoid, and I just proved that you can do it right there, is if you keep it in that kind of pose long enough, you can sort of see an indentation right there caused by this hard kind of, you know, diaper piece or midsection piece. So you don't want to leave it up there too long. This one, you know, I think for some reason ratchets a little less up, so I don't know what's going on there, but I do think that's probably the most limited area. And again, be careful because I also creased it right there. Probably would come out with a little heat, but still, just so that you can see the ankle pivot in action there. You can actually see that Dark-Lyn remains flat-footed, even in wide stances, and I could go a lot wider than that. Evil-Lyn does come with a scant amount of accessories. There are a few things anyway. She does come with some alternative hands right here, and you can see these. There's some fist hands and some holding hands, although the holding hands have absolutely nothing to hold on to. She doesn't include a staff or a sword or any kind of weapon. She comes with energy effects to fit on over either the fisted hands or the grasping hands. So you can use these. I'm pretty sure I remember her using something like this in the show. So something I just discovered, and here's another reason I don't like a lot of this new packaging stuff, is because there are so many more errors that can happen in terms of accessories loadout. Because they just come in a little like tissue paper and like a box, they can just kind of throw whatever in there, and they're not trying to key it up or match it up to like a plastic tray that has a shape for them. And look, she just has two left grasping hands. So you're just out of luck if you thought you would get another. Once again, I was saved by my funny inclination to go ahead and order two of these things, because the only way I could get another was to crack open the other one, which I already had to open because of the weird paint problem on the face, and grab the other open hand that I needed out of that. How ridiculous. And just in case anybody's wondering, yes indeed, Evil-Lyn has the giant cape tag like Scareglow had. So there you go. Just, you know, making sure Mattel lets everyone know that they own this cape, by golly. And here we have Dark-Lyn with her energy burst accessories clipped on to the open grasping hands. So I think that those look pretty cool, yeah, and definitely fairly accurate to some of the powers she used at the end of the series. And you can get Evil-Lyn into some really cool flight poses and mix and match the hands and the energy blasts, and I think you can get some good looking stuff. So Evil-Lyn might be the most central character in Masters Universe Revelation. I think that's a fair assessment because I think she undergoes the most growth and change as a character. And I think that's great. It was awesome that she had her time to shine in the show. For that reason, Mattel has not been shy about giving Evil-Lyn some of the very best figures in this line. It all started with absolutely the strongest figure of the first wave of Masterverse before they had a lot of things worked out, and it wasn't the strongest thing. But Evil-Lyn had no issues whatsoever. She was pretty much perfect right out of the gate. And there she was in that form. And then they struck gold again with the awesome Dark Sorceress version of Evil-Lyn. And with these three representations, you get kind of a full evolution of the character. I think the only thing that would be missing at this point is Evil-Lyn's more classical costume from the very opening scenes of the show. But yeah, it's pretty much a wrap on Evil-Lyn. There are some cool head swaps that you can do with Evil-Lyn. Of course, the first one we'll try is the kind of classic Evil-Lyn head with her old headdress. And it actually works better than I thought it would. I thought it would mostly just be kind of funny. But yeah, I think that's actually a really cool look for Evil-Lyn. The next one you can't necessarily do very well because the shoulder pads get in the way and you have to remove like the headdress thing. I'm sure that you could find a way to fit all of this in, but it's all connected to the head sculpt, like on this area right here. So you can get kind of an idea of how it would look, but I would have to do, quite a bit more work, and I don't feel like it to make that work. By far, I would say that the head swap people will be most interested in is taking the unhelmeted head from that first wave of Masterverse, and can you fit it on this body? And yes, you can. The flesh tones are a really good match for each other. The hair kind of helps disguise that maybe the head sets a little high, and I think it looks really, really great. The only thing is it's really stretching out the back of this hair, and it's really hard to like have it set just right, but with a little bit of heat, you could easily reshape that to have it set. All of these heads are, modular, and I think this is really cool looking. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey, I like it. So just in case you're curious about height when it comes to Dark-Lyn, I definitely think that there are some differences. So you can see that in comparison to the first wave's figure in wave 1, she is a good inch, if not more, taller than her, so it's pretty massive. And of course, here we have Evil-Lyn in her sorceress form. And once again, the height difference is almost exactly the same. The only difference here is that the ears shoot up really high. So it's always fun to go back to the days of classics, my favorite toy line of all time. And we'll throw in the 2000X styled Evil-Lyn right there. And yeah, this one's pretty significantly taller. And here is the Filmation styled one. And yeah, once again, about the same height difference. Just for fun, we'll take the repaint Evil-Lyn from Origins and we'll put her in there. And as you can see, it is a massive difference. And here's Revelation Skeletor, if you want to see him beside of Evil-Lyn. He comes up to about a little past her shoulder, but he is still appropriately a little bit smaller. And even though time hasn't necessarily been kind to He-Man here from Revelation in that first wave, you can see that He-Man is almost the same size as Evil-Lyn, but she is just a tad taller than him. So yeah, she's just a little bit bigger. That's triggered someone out there, I know it. No, they've emasculated He-Man. Of course, I think the main figure that people will want to scale with Evil-Lyn and have it scale appropriately is Teela. Here's hoping we get Teela in her sorceress form, but this works really well in terms of the obvious size difference that was from the show. But of course, if you want to, you can grab your extra Teela head from the second Teela they released in Masterverse. You can throw it on the new sorceress body, and that can do for now in terms of a final battle Teela. And what about Skellige? It's just a hair taller than Dark-Lyn. They're pretty much the same sort of scale, and I think they look fantastic together. So it's like the King and Queen of Evil here. Really nice. I was very surprised by how these two looked, and I really do think this is an underrated figure. It was sad for me to see just how unsuccessful that figure was. Maybe it was just overproduced, to see it go on clearance everywhere, and considering that it's one of the best new Masters figures that you can get. So, final thoughts about Dark-Lyn. So many things to like here, so many things. A fantastic sculpt that is truly, truly accurate to the animation. My personal opinion, your mileage may vary, Dark-Lyn is a great design. It brings something new and fresh to Masters of the Universe, and certainly is very original when it comes to interpreting Evil-Lyn, while at the same time it's borrowing on some elements that we hadn't really seen fully explored. Some of the more kind of Greek goddess looking, almost Egyptian in some ways, design tropes being integrated, the star field and the cape. There's so many things to like about this figure. I think it might be too revisionist for a lot of folks. You know, there's a lot of people that just like Evil-Lyn one way, and they're never going to like this. It really doesn't matter. I don't see a lot of those people being won over, so I'm aware of that. But I think that as long as you keep a fairly open mind to this reinterpretation of Evil-Lyn, I think you're going to see some really good stuff. However, that's just the good on this figure. I think there's a lot to be concerned about, and almost none of it has to do with the actual figure itself. I just happened to buy 2 of these because I had a feeling that there would be shenanigans when it came to Mattel and their production, especially considering that this was a boxed figure. That to me is always a red flag when it comes to quality control, because simply put, little flub ups are not as on display. They're hidden behind a box, and I think that they're more willing to put things out. Having like the red clown nose paint, the grasping hand that was doubled over, these are ridiculous things that shouldn't really be a thing when it comes to direct-to-consumer ordering. Now, no company is immune to this. Even the celebrated companies, you know, out there, those kind of, you know, low-run companies, they have problems like this too. Okay, it just happens. Maybe I was just super unlucky, but considering that I think a lot of people tend to have these sorts of issues when they order products from Mattel Creations. And I don't necessarily think that it's just Mattel Creations, but I think it's something you should be aware of, and perhaps like me, buy 2, and perhaps between them you can get a fully operational Dark-Lyn figure and return the other. You really shouldn't have those kinds of issues, but at the same time it's fairly reasonable considering what a large figure this is. Of course, I do wish there was some kind of weapon or something with the figure, maybe even an alternative head or something or another. But there just isn't anything like that. I think it's the bare minimum, definitely the bare minimum, but it is not an accessory-laden figure. However, the execution of the cape is fantastic, and just the overall artistry of the figure is very impressive. I think it's obvious why this figure wasn't sent out to retail. When you see something like Skelegod really struggle at retail, and he did, I think mostly it was because he was overshipped, overproduced, then you know something like Dark-Lyn is definitely going to struggle at retail. So I'm glad that Mattel Creations exists as an avenue to get these things out. Pretty simple ordering process. I think it's still up even. So you definitely have some options in terms of getting it. Like I said, I just hope you're a little luckier than I was with one of mine. And yeah, good luck. Do I suggest it? Yeah, I suggest it. It's a great figure. You shouldn't have to deal with some of the gymnastics that we have to deal with when it comes to getting a good sample, but you know, I think we're used to it by now. It's not an excuse, but I think we've certainly grown accustomed to it. Overall, let me know down below what you think about Masterverse and how it's shaping up. My Masterverse shelf, I had to pretty much buy another shelf to get it all geared up with my Masterverse stuff because it's starting to be a massive collection. Masterverse is growing very quickly, and Mattel's continual ability to get these to online retailers and even store shelves is awfully impressive. Mattel really does seem like they're paying a great deal of attention to Masters of the Universe, and despite all the doom and gloom that tend to spread around, it seems like Masters just keeps going and going. I mean, according to a lot of sources, Masters was supposed to be dead and over with by now. This figure was supposed to be canceled, so it just seems like Masters is in a pretty good spot. So even with something like the CGI series not continuing, I think that has more to do with the kids market, and of course kids aren't going to respond to Masters the way that we are, so it's great to see the Masterverse line continue with lots of exciting new releases. Alright friends, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video because both of those things really help us out, and of course hopefully I can have some more new content for you very soon. I'm sorry about the little break there, sometimes life gets in the way. So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out. Just leave me alone. I'm tired. Oh, not again. Ugh, He-Man again. Oh.